Over 70,000 runners are getting ready for Sunday's marathon. Temperatures will be much colder tomorrow. And President Xi Jinping meets Olympic chief Thomas Bach as Asian Winter Games gets underway. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Hong Kong Marathon will be held on Sunday, featuring more than 70,000 runners. Some participants say they are excited about race day. Meanwhile, a distance running expert gave some tips for first-time marathon runners. Mimo Sangai reports.
Sunday is a big day for residents who have registered for the marathon. For the first time, the runner pack collection point was at Kai Tak Sports Park instead of Victoria Park. Participants are keenly looking forward to the event. I am excited. This is my first time joining the marathon, this half-marathon runner said. The marathon also features mainland athletes who said they wanted to experience the sporting event in the city. I do not have much understanding of the Hong Kong Marathon, but I am curious about its race routes and want to see local scenery, this full marathon runner said. As the observatory is forecasting a chilly morning on Sunday, what clothing should athletes wear for their races?
I suggest the runners will run with the T-shirt with the short sleeve because when we feel hot, we can take it off. Don't wear thick clothing. Hats or gloves are also a good option for the race because I think this can help the runners to keep warm.
To keep themselves hydrated and energized, the full and half marathon athletes could consume energy gel and water every 20 to 30 minutes during their run. Between 11:30 p.m. on Saturday and 2 p.m. on Sunday, multiple road sections will be closed to facilitate the marathon. The MTR's East Rail Line and Two Mile Line will operate from 3:25 a.m., while other train services will start running from 4 a.m. and 4:30. Mums 9, TVB News.
The cool weather warning is now in force. The observatory said the minimum temperature will be around 10 degrees Celsius in the urban areas on Sunday. The weather was fine during the day, with the maximum temperature being around 17 and 18 degrees Celsius. Some residents wore thicker layers of clothing. Others were not deterred by the nippier weather to exercise outdoors. The observatory said an intense winter monsoon will continue to bring chilly weather to the coast of southern China on Sunday. And residents should expect a maximum temperature of 16 degrees during the day. The mainland is being swept by a harsh cold wave, with multiple provinces recording the lowest temperatures this winter season. The mercury in Beijing dipped to below minus 10 degrees Celsius. Beijing woke up to some blustery weather with gusty winds worsening the bitter chill. The lowest temperature during the day plumbed to a low of minus 11 degrees Celsius. Residents bundled up to combat the cold. This citizen said it's much colder than the previous years. This woman says she tries to stay indoors, especially in the morning and after nightfall. The temperature in Beijing the day before hit a new low since the start of winter. According to the weather forecaster, the cold wave is beginning to ease in the capital, and the mercury is expected to rise gradually on Sunday. In Yantai, Shandong, meanwhile, still battling with snowstorms, which forced multiple highways to shutter. A scene of snow and gusts in Inner Mongolia as well. Firefighters had to be dispatched to extricate people stranded in their vehicles. The meteorological department in the mainland said the Huanghai area and regions in the south experienced their coldest day since the start of winter on Saturday morning. Hangzhou saw a low of minus 4.6 degrees, marking its coldest February since 1990. The 9th Asian Winter Games is underway in Harbin after its opening ceremony last night. President Xi Jinping met with one of the guests, International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach, on Friday. During the meeting, Xi noted China has hosted the Beijing Winter Olympics, the Chengdu FISU World University Games, and the Hangzhou Asian Games in recent years. Xi said the successful hosting of these sporting events is inseparable from the close cooperation between China and the IOC. She said China is willing to work together with the IOC to promote the development of the Olympic movement and leverage the unique role of sports in promoting peace and unity. Bach wished Xi and the Chinese people a happy Spring Festival in the Year of the Snake. He expressed his gratitude for China's long-standing support of the IOC. Chief Executive John Lee met Hong Kong athletes taking part in this year's Asian Winter Games in Harbin. And Kenneth Fogg, who's leading the Hong Kong delegation, encourages young people to strive for their dreams at the game. This year, Team Hong Kong is fielding more than 70 athletes to the once-every-4-year multi-sport event, setting a record in the city's delegation size. Among them is the curling team, which is competing for the first time at the Asian Winter Games. The city leader said the athletes are in top form physically and mentally, and he has encouraged them to relax and put their best foot forward. Hong Kong will host the National Games in November alongside Guangdong and Macau. John Lee said his visit to the athletes' village at the Asian Winter Games helped him gain insight into the management of tournaments. He also commended the national team's Gao Tingzi, the gold medalist for the men's 100-meter speed skating final, who has set a new Asian record in the event. Kenneth Fogg, chef de mission of Team Hong Kong, has encouraged athletes to strive for their dreams and enjoy the fun of ice and snow sports. The 8-day showpiece this year is set to be the largest ever in terms of overall participation, with over 1,200 competitors from 34 countries and regions. A 26-year-old man appeared at the Eastern Magistrates Courts today. He has been charged with a count of doing an act or a series of acts tending and intended to pervert the course of public justice. The 26-year-old suspect, who claimed to be a taxi driver, arrived at the Eastern Magistrates Courts this morning. The man was accused of perverting the course of justice of the proceedings of 4 national security offenders between October 2020 and July 2022. The case has been adjourned until May. The police have arrested 3 non-ethnic Chinese men for their suspected involvement in thefts. The police received a report from a tourist on Thursday, saying a purse from a backpack had been stolen at the Peak. The tourist said the alleged thieves had also used the stolen credit cards to buy items that cost $16,000. After investigation, authorities arrested 2 men on Friday, aged 41 and 44, and found some of the stolen items in their hotel room. Separately, the force arrested a man in Lan Kwai Fong on suspicion of having stolen a drunk person's mobile phone. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that small ticket shipments from China can remain tariff-free until the U.S. Department of Commerce develops a comprehensive tariff system. Hong Kong Post is still suspending the acceptance of U.S.-bound parcels, saying that it needs more clarity on America's tariff arrangements. The White House said President Donald Trump signed an executive order on Wednesday revising the tariff policy on small-ticket Chinese goods. Trump's latest decision, the shipment of small parcels from China worth $800 or 6,420 Hong Kong dollars or less will remain duty-free. That's until the U.S. Secretary of Commerce sets up a system to process and collect tariffs efficiently and comprehensively. Trump earlier signed an executive order to remove tariff exemptions for such small packages starting Tuesday. The U.S. Postal Service announced on the same day it would suspend accepting such packages from the Chinese mainland and Hong Kong with letters not affected. That's before a policy U-turn on Wednesday to resume accepting such parcels. CNBC reported that last year alone, U.S. Customs handled more than 1.3 billion pieces of such duty-free small parcels. Beijing said the U.S. tariff policies have violated rules from the World Trade Organizations. Locally, Hong Kong Post is still suspending the acceptance of U.S.-bound parcels and returns such parcels received on Thursday to senders. Hong Kong Post will contact senders whose U.S.-bound parcels delivered before February 6 but haven't departed Hong Kong. And if citizens still want to ship goods to the U.S., they will have to take the pricier route. This courier company charges $877 to send a package weighing 3 kilograms. For the same package, this courier company charges according to the delivery time. It costs about $897 at its lowest rate. Hong Kong Post, meanwhile, charges $739. And still ahead, a new round of hostage exchange in Gaza took place this afternoon. U.S. President Donald Trump meets Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. At least 10 people died after a plane crash in Alaska. Welcome back. 3 Israeli hostages have been released and handed over by Hamas. 183 Palestinian prisoners will be freed by Israel. David Garrett reports.
A choreographed handover. It's the fifth release of hostages by Hamas since the Gaza ceasefire began last month. Nearly 200 Palestinian prisoners will leave Israeli jails. Wearing masks, Hamas members invited the Red Cross onto the stage to sign documents before the handover. Then the three men were brought out, each holding white paper. The three hostages paraded on stage before being handed over to the Red Cross. Families and friends watched this play out on their televisions in Israel with confusion and worry, followed by elation. The men were briefly interviewed by their captors on stage. They looked thinner and weaker for their 16-month ordeal. Ohed Ben Ami is 56 years old, Or Levy is 34, Eli Sharabi is a 52-year-old. During this 42 days of phase one of the ceasefire, 33 Hamas-held hostages will be freed. Around 2,000 Palestinian prisoners will be released. The freed three touched down in a helicopter ahead of medical assessment in Israel. US President Donald Trump's stunning proposal to rehouse Palestinians and take over the Strip has not affected another smooth transfer. Trump just hours earlier underlined his plan, saying for relatively little money, stability in Gaza can be achieved. Ignoring widespread criticism from the Arab world and other countries, Trump claimed his plan has been well received.
Basically, the United States would view it as a real estate transaction where we'll be an investor in that part of the world, and no rush to do anything. We wouldn't need anybody there. It would be supplied and given to us by Israel. They'll watch it in terms of security. We're not talking about boots in the ground or anything, but I think the fact that we're there, that we have an investment there, I think would go a long way to creating peace.
Benjamin Netanyahu in Washington with House Speaker Mike Johnson, but still full of praise for Trump following their extraordinary meeting. Netanyahu was in America to begin talks on stage 2 of the peace plan, which should see a permanent end to the war and all hostages released. David Garrett, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump welcomed Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba to the White House for their first face-to-face meeting. The U.S.-Japan talks come as escalating trade tensions in the aftermath of Trump's January inauguration threaten to rupture the global economy. Daniel Rao tells us more.
In his dialogue with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, U.S. President Donald Trump pushed Japan to invest in U.S. energy and technology, showered his closest Asian ally with praise, and sought a way out of a dispute over a Japanese bid for U.S. steel. Trump announced progress on Nippon Steel's blocked $14.9 billion attempt to take over U.S. steel, which he has long opposed. Trump said Nippon was now looking at an investment, not purchase. Trump pressed for Tokyo to close its $68.5 billion trade surplus with Washington. However, he expressed optimism this could be done quickly, given a promise by Ishiba to bring Japanese investment in the U.S. to $1 trillion, as well as new purchases of U.S.-produced liquefied natural gas, ethanol and ammonia. Trump said he was confident the cherished alliance between the two countries will continue to flourish. He agreed to travel to Japan in the near future.
Prime Minister Ishiba and I spoke long and hard about a vital economic relationship between our two countries and the continuance of that relationship. The United States and Japan trade over $300 billion in goods and services each year. Japan has invested nearly $800 billion, and that's going to go up very, very substantially in the coming months, more than any other country.
Speaking about Trump, Ishiba said on television he is frightening and he has a very strong personality, but said in person he was actually very sincere and powerful. Asked about the possibility of Trump implementing trade tariffs on Japan, Ishiba said he was unable to respond to a theoretical question. Japan is heavily trade dependent. A major exporter, it counts on imports for much of its food and natural resources, and many of its firms are deeply invested in and reliant on China. Daniel, TV News.
The wreckage of a commuter plane that went missing in Alaska has been found on the frozen sea. All 10 on board are dead. Harsh winter weather had hampered the search. The Coast Guard located the debris with a helicopter and lowered down 2 people to investigate. The splintered plane was partially submerged in snow and ice. The Bering Air single-engine turboprop plane was traveling from Unalakleet to Nome when it disappeared from radar. This incident is the deadliest air disaster in Alaska in a quarter of a century.
Sadly, there does not appear to be any survivors. Those rescue swimmers are out on the ice. They were able to see inside the aircraft, and they saw 3 individuals who were unresponsive without any signs of life. The remaining 7 people are believed to be on board, but due to the extent of the damage, the rest of the aircraft was inaccessible.
In Peru, a research center has been developing a gene bank that holds thousands of potato varieties to address a threat to global food security by climate change. Hong Kong imports more than 90% of its food, but more frequent extreme weather conditions have disrupted the stability of the global food supply. Among the efforts to cushion the impact, scientists are working to preserve the genes and varieties of a key staple food, potatoes. They include the International Potato Research Center in Peru. Home to the root vegetable, southern Peru is where potatoes were first domesticated around 8,000 years ago. In the 16th century, Spain colonized Peru and took potatoes worldwide.
The potato itself is a very healthy food. They use as French fries or chips. It's the oil and salt that is, of course, the concern about the health, and less the potato itself. The world needs potato in different parts of the world, in different markets.
The center's gene bank keeps more than 4,600 potato varieties, which are updated every 2 to 4 years.
You never know what will come in the future. So we want to have a good toolbox of all the possible potato varieties or seeds that we can use to affront this new difficult times.
Some potato seeds are stored under liquefied nitrogen at -196 degrees. Research efforts, too, to improve the nutritional value of potatoes. They include this variety, which can help lower blood sugar and promote bowel movement. Jianming Xie, director of CIP China Center for Asia and the Pacific, said Hong Kong is a financial and trade center, and the center is studying ways to cooperate with Hong Kong in the future in organizing international forums and trade expos for potatoes. The Potato Research Center has also collaborated with NASA to plant potatoes in the Peruvian desert in a simulated Mars environment. Potatoes on Earth sometimes taste bitter when grown under extremely hot and dry environments, but vegetable grown on Mars won't have such an issue, the center said. Back in Hong Kong, Citybus required all of its bus captains to participate in an elderly experience to better understand and cater to the travel needs of the elderly. Celine Chan reports.
These bus captains left their driver's seats on this day and put themselves in the shoes of the elderly. They had a tough time after the body swap. They had to put on special suits that weighed dozens of pounds. Further weights were tied to their feet to help them experience the difficulties faced by the elderly. Some bus captains put on special goggles that simulate some senior citizens' inability to see clearly. This bus captain said the experience allowed him to better understand the physical and mental situation of the elderly, and he would pay more attention to their needs and be more patient in the future. The elderly experience training course provided by a social enterprise is compulsory for all bus captains from Citybus. Some bus captains were arranged to play the role of caretakers.
We all found that after those bus captains, after they attend such kind of training, we see that the number of accident rate dropped over 40%, and I think this is a very good result.
Citybus will monitor the bus captains' performances with their system. Bus captains whose performances are below par would be subjected to disciplinary action if it was because of personal issues. Remedial training would be provided. More than 20% of Citybus's full-time bus captains have already completed the training, and the company expects the training for all 4,000 full-time bus captains to be completed by 2026. Around 60 part-time bus captains have been recruited since the 3-day bus captain scheme was rolled out. There are about 100 full-time bus captain vacancies at Citybus at the moment. Celine Chan, TVB News.
And that's the news. Happy Saturday.